What a great performance that was by Kane. I'm John Retlin with the retro review of WWE Royal Rumble 2001, set in New Orleans, Louisiana at a bit of a weird time in wrestling. ECW had shut its doors, WCW would shut its doors in a couple months, and it would be about another year and a half before any, number two company would come along like NWA TNA, and it would take a while for them to get rolling, even though they did have some buzz in the beginning and kept rolling for a number of years. So, yeah, WWE was the only big game in town, and 17,000 plus fans going insane in one of the big cities in Mid-South wrestling. And New Orleans has a really passionate fan base. The Saints proved that. And there was some good energy to this show. There were things I didn't like that I will talk about later. But realistically, one of my favorite pay-per-views of 2001. One reason why the Rumble is one of the big four pay-per-views. Like, if you want to hold up any event and say, hey, why is the Royal Rumble considered one of the big four? You could point to this. Now, there are other Rumbles previously and even since this one that justify the Royal Rumble getting such buzz like it does. But this was a really damn good Rumble, even with some of the angles I didn't like. So we had a Heat match. It was on Sunday Night Heat, by the way, in case you are unfamiliar with what Sunday Night Heat is. Lowdown, Chaz, and D'Lo in turban garb because they were managed by Tiger Ali Singh. I really didn't understand this team. They didn't go much of anywhere. It looked like they were both from some offshoot of an Aladdin play. It really wasn't all that good. They took on Kai and Tai. Shane McMahon voicing them was really goddamn hilarious. Taka Michinoku and Funaki. Indeed. And the idea was whichever team won, this was like a 2-minute match, one member would go into the Rumble, and then they would be replaced later by somebody I'll talk about here in a little bit. JR and Lawler on commentary. Funny that Lawler would actually be gone from the company soon after this when his, at the time, wife got fired, the cat, and he decided to go with her, and then came back to the company like 9 months later after him and her were going to go to WCW, but they shut down. That's the rumor at least. And then he went to the XWF, which didn't work out all that well. And then he was back with the company 9 months later. I guess, showing loyalty to his wife. Hey, maybe she got too old for him 9 months later because Lawler always trades down for a younger age. And then he was back with the company and has been ever since. So we get the Dudleys versus Edge and Christian WWE Tag Team Championship match. And Edge and Christian had concussed the Dudleys on a previous television show. So Dudleys were selling that. But these two always had good matches, these two teams. And it was what it was. As things went on, as they kept selling the concussions, there would be some quick near falls, and eventually 3D, 1, 2, 3. So the Dudleys win the tag team championships. They don't hold them for too long, but then it would lead to TLC2, Electric Boogaloo. We then get Drew Carey arriving to promote some comedy pay-per-view special. Drew Carey is a really hilarious guy as far as his stuff on Whose Line Is It Anyway. He's not a great host for The Price is Right. He's not awful, but he's no Bob Barker. I never really cared for the Drew Carey show. I just didn't think it was all that great, but it was him attempting to do a lot of his stand-up in sitcom form, and sometimes it would work and sometimes it wouldn't. But everybody has, their own taste. We then get Vince promo about Stone Cold, being in the Rumble, Triple H's match with Kurt Angle. And obviously this would lead to even though we didn't know at the time, a 2 out of 3 falls match, 3 stages of hell match at No Way Out 2001. One of the best matches of 2001, at least in American wrestling. And then Triple H and Stephanie are talking about the match with Angle, and Trish is going to be in Angle's corner. So Stephanie says she will deal with Trish. Triple H is like, I don't want to make this about, I don't want you guys distracting me. Don't fucking do that. I mean, he didn't say fuck. He should have, because he should have, told Stephanie, hey, stop being an idiot and let me win the championship. What the fuck is wrong with you? Now, they were married in kayfabe on here, but they weren't going to be married until what? A couple years later? I think about 2.5 years later. And then Drew shows up. Stephanie talks to Drew a bit and says, hey, Trish is a big fan of yours. She's single. How about I take you to her locker room? This is going to end well. And then, this really wasn't all that good. APA's talking, doing their usual shtick, drinking, smoking cigars, playing cards and everything. Hey, we got our numbers. Oh, damn, that's going to be interesting. Oh, damn, says Ron Simmons. Can't do it like Ron Simmons. Nobody can. Crash Holly shows up. Hey, we're friends. Well, hey, guess what? If we're in the Rumble at the same time, I'm going to have to toss you out. And they just look at him like, what the fuck is going on? It's really sad. By the way, the Crash Holly, by the way, would be dead in about 2.5 years. So We then get Chris Jericho versus Chris Benoit Intercontinental Championship ladder match. Cringe. I cringed a lot during this. That chair shot, during the suicide dive that Benoit did still is etched in my skull, and it was just really, really cringy. Now, it was a great match, don't get me wrong. Benoit had worked on Jericho's arm on previous TVs, and, could Jericho hold up? Could Benoit's skull hold up? Because fucking hell, there were a lot of cringe-worthy headshots. Modified octopus, walls of Jericho on the ladder, whatever you want to call it. Spill off the ladder. The diving headbutt off the ladder that misses. Good grief. Fucking Christ. Benoit gets roped into a spot at the end where he pretty much hits the ropes really hard and tumbles outside, and then Jericho grabs the title to get the victory. Yeah, that was something else. It was a really good match, but boy, knowing what Benoit would do, and yes, Benoit was a fucking murderer, regardless of how much head trauma or whatever that he had, he was still a fucking murderer, murdered his wife, murdered his son, and then killed himself. And I'm just going to say right now that Benoit should never be in the goddamn Hall of Fame. I don't care how good he was in the ring, how great he was in the ring. That cannot excuse what fucking happened. It was fucking revolting, and will always be revolting. So, we then get Drew talking to Trish. And then Vince gets jealous and says, hey, Drew, why don't you be in the Rumble? Because we can't have any of our hardworking talents be in there. Let's put this comedy hack in there. And I know I just kind of praised Drew Carey's work, but this is just as bad to me as putting Jay Leno in there. Yes, Jay Leno actually got a victory over Eric Bischoff on pay-per-view. But there are people that work hard all year, and you could have put somebody else in there. No, let's put Drew Carey there. Because why the fuck not? Why not? Why not just shit all over our roster? We then get Billy Gunn saying that he's worried about Chyna's neck because Chyna had neck issues and been feuding with Right to Censor because they didn't like her showing her boobies in Badger and Playboy. And Steven Richards is a known crackpot and a known piece of shit. Ivory's great. Ivory's fucking great. And she actually took on Chyna here with noted crackpot Steven Richards for the Women's Championship. Chyna wanted revenge for all the shit that they'd done and basically tossed Ivory around a whole lot. And JR said one line, I think Ivory is 30 days premenstrual. Just basically justifying she's always crabby and crampy and everything 30 days out of the month. Every single day of the month. I like Ivory. I mean, it's just, she did a good job playing a prude here, I will say that. Chyna beats shit out of her, but then does a handspring elbow, hits Chyna, but badly sells her neck. And I'm not even saying that Chyna was my favorite or whatever, but it was not a good spot. And she's like all down and everything because she had a bad neck, yet somehow it was okay by Mania. It's not what I remember enough about the TV where I thought this was stupid. But anyway, Ivory covers for 3, and Lawler checks on Chyna. Okay, he checks on Chyna. He then goes right back to commentary after a little bit like nothing happened. And then Billy runs in. It was shit. We get a stretcher job. Trish and Stephanie have words. And Stephanie's exact words were, if you get involved tonight, I will have no problem touching you. I'm going to let that sit there for a bit. Okay, that's enough sitting. You can fantasize all you want if you want. Anyway, Vince McMahon tells Lowdown and Singh that Drew Carey has replaced him. Just slap him across the face, Vince. What the hell? I mean, he already allowed Beaver cleavage to fucking happen to Chaz, so no wonder Chaz can never be taken seriously. And D'Lo, one of the better workers that he had in the goddamn company, why the fuck would you slap him? I mean, Tiger Ali Singh was also there. I mean, it just wasn't a good idea. It was never a good idea to really bring the guy in. I mean, he wasn't horrible in the ring, but his father, Tiger Jeet Singh, was way better and a way bigger draw. I don't know. Kurt Angle with Trish versus Triple H with Stephanie. It's for the WWE Championship. You would have thought this would have been a no DQ match. It was quite good when they just focused on Angle and Triple H. And I'm not even the biggest Triple H fan. The women did have to get involved. JR mentioning Linda's vegetative state because she was all upset about Vince wanting a divorce. So Linda just had this washed out expression on her face, like she always does, especially now, trying to justify the actions of a fucking lunatic that morons voted for. And I don't care if people get upset because I throw that jab in there. Linda's a goddamn idiot. She got one of the biggest pops in Mania history when she stood up out of the wheelchair. That was great, but Linda's a fucking idiot. And a fucking moron. In fact, the entire McMahon family is. The entire Vince family might as well be the Vince family. because Stephanie's just like her goddamn dad. Shane acts normal, but, he believes in the guy too. And it's fucking stupid. Anyway, moving on from that. Stephanie and Trish fight, and then Vince tries to take Trish away, and then, well, that was just fucking ridiculous because Vince gets knocked down in a comical way. Back to the match, finally, because the women fought for seemingly like 18 years, and we get close near falls, we get an accidental low blow when Angle bounces into the turnbuckle, and then bounces right into Triple H's game. And then, moonsault for 2. Angle actually landing the moonsault was a bit shocking. We get a ref bump, because of course we do. We get an armbar off the top by Angle. Really beautiful armbar. Pedigree, no ref. And then a ref bump again. And then Austin runs in and attacks Triple H, because Triple H, I think a few weeks prior, I want to say it was the first Raw of 2001, had stopped Austin from meeting Kurt Angle. So this was a way for Austin to get revenge. And then Triple H would get revenge for Austin's revenge. So then the ultimate revenge would happen at No Way Out 2001, 3 Stages of Hell. Bit weird this. Then it would be the 2-man power trip right after Mania. Good storytelling there. So anyway, we get a belt shot. Triple H is bleeding. Angle crawls over, gets the cover. 1, 2, 3. Triple H is pissed. Rock cuts a promo about chucking body after body after body after body out of the Rumble. He chucks 3, by the way, just so you know. Kane actually has the record here for, or at least, I still say he has the record. I don't think that Roman Reigns has the record because Hornswoggle doesn't fucking count. So let's just call it a tie. So anyway, cool video package, high forward. They talk about the various people in it, the various big guys. And then we get a Rumble match. Jeff Hardy at 1, Bull Buchanan at number 2, and then Matt Hardy comes in at 3, Farouk at number 4. The Hardys are fighting. And then Drew Carey at number 5. The Hardys eliminate themselves. Drew is all celebrating. And then here's Kane, because Kane earlier had been talked to by Drew. Drew's like, hey, I'm a wrestler now. And Kane just kind of looks at him. So Drew tries to offer him money. Kane just slaps it away, tries to choke slam him. Raven comes down. Drew eliminates himself. First smart thing that he's done in a while. And then we get a bunch of guys coming in. Kane lasting, by the way, I think it was 53 minutes. 54 minutes, something like that. Raven, Al Snow, Saturn, Blackman, and Grandmaster Sex say the way to the Grandmaster apparently is to get eliminated in a minute. It's Master Wato reference, by the way, that, he wouldn't come around for a while. It really didn't seem like they knew what to do with these guys. They're like, hey, you guys are in the hardcore division. Let's just fucking go out there and do a whole bunch of shit. And a bunch of weapons come out. JR says, hey, we haven't seen Al Snow in weeks. He says that like it's a bad thing. And then hardcore action. They all get eliminated by Kane. Kane just goes nuts. Here's the Honky Tonk Man, by the way. The worst Intercontinental Champion of all time for a long, for like a long reign. And it's because Honky Tonk Man wasn't any fucking good. And he wasn't any fucking good in WCW. And then he comes out and he gets crowned by Kane. Too bad it wasn't with a legit guitar. Might have knocked some sense in the Honky Tonk Man. And then Honky Tonk gets eliminated. By the way, one line that JR says earlier with the hardcore stuff in there. It looks like a tornado ran through here. Or a hurricane. Knowing what would happen in New Orleans just a few years later. A bit much. I mean, not JR's fault, but just looking back like, oh god, poor New Orleans. Anyway, so Rock in at number 13, 38 minutes. Godfather and Taz, I think they're 14 and 15, and they lasted 10 seconds. Taz's time in this Rumble is almost as short as he is. Then we get Bradshaw, Albert, and Holly, lasting 15 to 18 minutes each. K-Quick at number 19. Here's a question. Is R-Truth an immortal? That is what I wonder. Because he looked fucking great here, and still looks fucking great even now. And he's almost 50. So good on him for good genetics. And then Test eliminates Regal a little bit later. Big Show surprising everybody. Coming back at number 23. Eliminates 2 people, Test and R-Truth. And, well, I mean, K-Quick. Sorry. But I'm just so used to calling him R-Truth. And lays out everybody with choke slams. And then Rock eliminates him in 80 seconds. And then Rock gets pulled out of the ring. And Big Show just, choke slamming Rock right through the announcer's table. Taker, number 25. Sky Too Hotty comes in, number 26, gets eliminated. That was not too cool, or cool at all. Stone Cold at 27, gets attacked and bloodied by Triple H. Billy Gunn at number 28. Haku, shockingly, comes out at number 29. Shockingly, because he was the current WCW Hardcore Champion. And he shows up saying, okay, fuck this place. I'm going to go make some money and actually work in a company that appreciates me. Because WCW by that point, and I just gotten done watching Sin by this point, was not any fucking good. I mean, good fucking grief. Rikishi at number 30 for The Rock, for the people, and he was out in 2.5 minutes. Eliminates Taker, and then Austin and Rock go at it. Kane eliminates Rock, and then Austin has to smash Kane repeatedly in the head with a chair, toss him over the top, or clothesline him over the top to get the victory. So that's pretty much it right there. Yeah, you could have made an argument that Kane should have been featured in the main event after that. I mean, maybe not at Mania because they had their hearts set on Rock and Austin. I get that. It just seems like they could have capitalized on Kane's momentum a little bit more. Now, he had a great hardcore match with Big Show and Raven being the crash test dummy there, and no, not the one that made that song, but, you know, the kind of crash test dummy, like, you could learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle up. Moving on from that. This was a great Rumble, even with the issues. But let me know what you guys thought of this Rumble. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.